Hello, we begin with the coronavirus outbreak in China that's showing no signs of letting up. So in the past few hours, Hong Kong's leader Carrie Lam announced a series of drastic new measures, including halting ferry and train services to the mainland, halving the number of flights, and suspension of personal travel permits. Lam is also urging all Hong Kong residents to remain at home for the next 14 days.
The measures will be effective in reducing the number of visitors from the mainland. Since transportation services are required for the commuters, we will scale back our transportation services. First of all, high-speed rail services to and from the mainland will be suspended. In terms of air travel, the number of flights from mainland to Hong Kong will be slashed by half. In terms of sea travel, all cross-border ferry services will be suspended.
Well, Adrian Brown has more on the impact of those new measures.
I think a lot of legislators here in Hong Kong in the opposition camp are certainly saying it's too little, too late. Let's put this into some sort of context. This is one of the busiest frontiers in the world. 40 million people crossed over it last year. Just 2 million, for instance, in November. And that's in spite of these ongoing political protests, which have a strong anti-mainland sentiment to them. And that anti-mainland sentiment has been, feeding into what's been going on for the past week here in Hong Kong. That virus is really stirring up an anti-mainland mood here in Hong Kong. The border, of course, is absolutely crucial. So many people in Hong Kong work in the mainland. They go over in the morning, come home in the evening. That's now effectively going to stop. Now, she has stopped short of declaring a total closure of the border. This is a partial closure. Rail and ferry links are being cut. The number of flights between Hong Kong and the mainland are being halved. And that's really going to hit airlines like Cathay Pacific at a time when they're already being squeezed economically because of the ongoing protests. Now, Carrie Lam has also lamented the fact that there has been a lot of misinformation, she says, online, suggesting that Hong Kong was having to rely on the mainland for help, and also the other way around. She says that's simply not the case.
Well, Carrie Lam's move appears to be an attempt to further insulate Hong Kong from the outbreak, which has now killed 106 people, while more than 4,500 Chinese are infected. And the virus has spread widely right across Southeast Asia. There are 14 confirmed cases in Thailand and 8 in Hong Kong. It's also been found in Taiwan, Macau, South Korea, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Cambodia. And elsewhere in the world, cases have been confirmed in Germany, in France, in Nepal, Australia, the US, as well as Canada. And many of those countries are working to get their citizens out of the Chinese city of Wuhan that's at the epicenter of the outbreak. But the World Health Organization has warned of the risks of evacuation.
Evacuating staff or anybody from an area always bears the slight possibility that they carry the virus with them, or especially if there's a possibility of asymptomatic or very small light symptoms. At the same time, I understand that countries who have been already talking about bringing their nationals back, which is of course in the full sovereignty and the interest of those member states, have been taking measures or have announced measures to either contain these people on the way back or contain for a certain amount of time.
Let's discuss the virus and these measures that have been taken with Mark Eccleston-Turner, who's a lecturer of global health law at the University of Kiel in the UK, and that is in fact where he's joining us from. Thanks very much for your time with us on Al Jazeera. And I know that you are most probably keeping an eye out on the situation over in China and Hong Kong. So first, address these measures that Hong Kong has taken to enforce a sort of partial closure on its borders, and China's restricting transportation. Do these measures work, or are they too little too late?
They typically don't work, no. They tend to not provide any real public health benefit. Border closures tend to happen during any sort of novel outbreak like this that we see, and the evidence that they actually have any benefit on the public health response is very, very limited. There is an old adage in public health that diseases don't respect borders, and it's very much true. If because of the interconnected nature of the world, it's unsurprising to see cases pop up in new countries away from China and away from Wuhan. People who wish to cross borders and people who wish to lead cordon sanitaire, like we're seeing which is in place in Wuhan now, will find the means to do so. The other issue is, as you rightly suggest, the horse has already bolted. If spread has occurred, it's probably already occurred, and these measures are quite restrictive, quite regressive, and they usually serve to create fear in a community rather than actually provide any real concrete public health benefit.
So what sort of measures then would you be recommending?
So some things which there is an evidence base for, which are effective, are what are called social distancing measures. So these can slow down the spread of a virus, although not stop it. So things like suspending schools, suspending mass gatherings, in some instances suspending public transport. But the main thing which will work is public health preparedness, is having strong and robust health systems which are able to respond to novel outbreaks as and when they occur. That is the only thing which really works. It is not possible to prevent viruses from moving around the globe. The only thing which is possible is being able to quickly respond to them when they do so. So that means having in place rapid diagnostic testing to actually identify whether people do have coronavirus or not. So at this time of year in the Northern Hemisphere, lots of people have the sort of symptoms which could appear to be coronavirus, but it's almost certainly not. It's almost certainly caused by something else. So things like influenza, the common cold, give fairly similar symptoms to the coronavirus. So knowing whether people actually have this coronavirus or something else is the first thing that we need to do. The second thing we need to do is be able to treat those people in isolation when they are symptomatic or when they do have the virus, to ensure that there is a limited onward spread.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. We thank you very much for speaking to us from the UK.
Thank you.